Hey, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about the books I read in March. I didn't read very many. It was a slow reading month for me. For some reason I didn't want to read. I don't really know. And I don't have any of these physical books. Well, I have one of them, but it's at my house. Let's just get into it, okay? If you've seen any of my other reading wrap-up videos, I've been knee-deep in my cowboy romance era. And so I've been reading the Chestnut Spring series. I'm on the 5th book now, but I haven't read it yet. So I read Reckless. Sorry, I'm looking at the stuff on my phone. But I read Reckless, and honestly, Reckless was probably my favorite out of the series. I really liked Winter. Okay, I know, and if you've read the first book, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but if you've read the first book, you hate Winter. That's just a given. I really liked her. Her redemption arc, top tier. And Theo, precious. He's so precious. Oh my gosh, he's so sweet. I'm not going to tell you, there's not a lot I can tell you about this book because it will spoil it, but all I can say, Winter and Theo together, so cute. They have some really interesting drama, I guess, that they dive into that I feel made the book really interesting. And I feel like the premise was really interesting because it took a completely different turn than I thought it was going to. I had no idea what was going to happen. So if you have no idea, then you're going to love it. Well, hopefully. Hang on, I need to see the exact rating I gave it. I know I gave it... Actually, I'm not going to say anything. Let me just look. Oh, I gave it 4.75 stars, which, is kind of annoying. But it wasn't quite 5 stars for me. If that makes sense. I was above a 4, So I need that in between is just right, 4.75. Highly recommend the Chestnut Spring series. I was always like, I don't want to read cowboy romance. Ew. Wrong. That's wrong. Because it's so good. Okay? Just trust me. Pick up not Heartless. I always say that's the first one, it's not. Pick up Flawless, read it, and you're going to be obsessed. It's everything you need in a book, okay? Strong female leads. Every single main character, girl main character, strong AF. All the boys, cowboys. All the boys are cowboys. And they're brothers-ish, give or take. And they're obsessed with their girl. Hi, what else do you need? Go read them. Then I read Swift and Saddled, which is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. And I was really excited about this one. I read Done and Dusted. I loved Done and Dusted. And then I went to read this one. First of all, the covers are gorgeous. But for some reason, this one felt a little flat for me. I don't know. I really love Wes. He's one of my favorite guy main characters. He's just so... Because I feel like you're so used to authors making the guy, broody and kind of harsh, and Wes is the complete opposite of that. He is a sweetheart and he is goofy and fun, and I really like that, being different, because you're not used to seeing that. But the girl, Ada, not like her, but I didn't love her. I don't know, for me she wasn't super lovable. Basically, Wes gets in from his family to take the old house on the ranch and build it into a bed and breakfast, and he hires Ada to be the one that does the interior decorating and stuff for it, but she's also in charge of making sure the construction goes according to plan and stuff. I'm not 100% sure. Some stuff happens between them. Sparks fly, if you know what I mean. But I don't know, it just felt a little flat for me. I didn't love their relationship. He was really obsessed with her, and she kind of gave him crumbs. TBH, I still recommend it. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. It just wasn't great, Not as good as the Chestnut Spring series, but I still recommend you read it. Oh my gosh. I read Bride by Allie Hazelwood. Listen, when this book came out, when it was announced, I was like, I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna read it, because that sounds weird. I'm not gonna read that. And then I was sick, and I was like, I need something to read. And I got the audiobook of Bride from the public library, and listened to it in less than 24 hours. And it was phenomenal, actually. I highly recommend listening to it on audio. I like switching between listening to it on audio and actually like reading it on my Kindle. And the audiobook was really good. Like, some audiobooks aren't good. This one was really good. Basically, okay, stick with me. Stick with me here. It's a paranormal romance. I'm embarrassed. This is embarrassing. But anyway, it's paranormal romance between, she's a vampire and he's a werewolf. Okay. Okay, that's embarrassing, but just trust me, okay? Just trust me. I don't read bad books. Well, I do, but like not on purpose, and I would never. Just trust me. The vampires and the werewolves, they're feuding, right? They hate each other naturally, don't they always? And in order to like come to like an agreement, they need to connect their things, I guess. I don't freaking know. Gosh, I'm doing really bad. They need to like have something that's gonna make them not want to like fight, right? So they have a marriage pact. The alpha of the werewolves marry the daughter of the guy that's in charge of the vampires. And so she's forced to do it, but it's like, it's werewolves and vampires, but it's set in present day. Like, I'm pretty sure they have phones. Like, they have phones and stuff. And, like, the human world is just, like, the normal human world. And what's her name? Her name's Misery. She's the vampire. And she's kind of... describe her. I liked her, but, like, she wasn't super lovable. And then, what was his name? The alpha? A little goofy. He was a little goofy. He's very macho. And then you get to know him, and he's not macho at all. He's actually, like, a little baby. Oh, goofy. But basically, they get married, and they are figuring out how to be married, but also trying to figure out the politics of the world around them and stuff. A whole lot about it, again, because it will spoil. But I did give it 4.5 stars. I actually really liked it, and I was not expecting to like it. I thought I was going to start listening to it and be like, no, I don't want to read this. I devoured it. It was actually really good. And I highly... Listen, if you've read a book by Ali Hazelwood and you like her writing, then you should read this book. That's what I'm going with. If you've read her books before, her romance books, go ahead and read this one, and I think you'll enjoy it. Just trust me, okay? I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which is the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. Listen, I liked it. Oh gosh, I don't even know how to explain. Basically, Aurea is a human, and she was saved from her village by the Vampire King, basically. And he took her in as his own daughter, and they live in this like world, this kingdom that is really dangerous for humans. Basically, humans are seen as livestock there because it's mainly vampires that live there, but Aurea lives there, and she's, you know, not, like, she's kind of protected because her dad's the king, her dad. Well, they have this tournament every, like, oh gosh, I want to say like 200 years or something like that. No, don't quote me on that. That might not be true. But they have this tournament. And Nyaxia is their goddess, the goddess of vampires, the goddess of death or something like that. And all these people come to compete in the tournament, and the winner is granted a gift by Nyaxia herself of whatever they want. And so Aurea goes to compete because she wants to become a vampire so that she doesn't have to, like, she's not seen as weak anymore, because she sees herself as super weak because she's not a vampire, even though she's... Anyway. So she goes to compete. It's like the Hunger Games, kind of. No, it's not like the... I don't know how to explain it. It's like the Hunger Games in the sense that they have to kill each other, and there are challenges. But they have a challenge, like, every... It's based on the phases of the moon. So it's like every other phase, basically. It's like every 3 weeks they have a challenge. This goes on for 4 months, so there's 4 challenges. They live in this castle together in between when the challenges are happening, basically. Anyway, they have to ally together for the third challenge, and she ends up becoming a ally with Rain. Is that how you say his name? With Rain, and he's a vampire, but he was a vampire. He wasn't always a vampire. He used to be human, and so Rain and Araya team up, and they end up forming, you know, a connection, if you know what I mean. And they basically like start to rely on each other and help each other win the challenge. If they win, I can't tell you anything. I can't spoil. I don't want to spoil. I liked this one. It was just, parts of it were really dull for me. Like, I give it probably 3.5 stars, probably. I'm sure the rest of the series gets better. I've heard the second book's better than the first one, but this one was a little dull. The romance was good. I really enjoyed the romance, and I liked the politics of it, but I feel like we could have cut out some descriptions. Like, I felt like there was, like, were described for way longer than they needed to be, basically. It was good, but it wasn't great. That's the premise of the books that I read. The 4 books I read in March. No, 2 of the 4 books I read in March. It was good, but it wasn't great. And then the other 2 books I read in March these were really good, but they weren't 5 stars. So, those are all the books that I read in March. Not a lot of them, but they weren't that. It wasn't a bad reading month necessarily. I just didn't read as much. I had a lot going on. Okay. But now I'm going to tell you the books that I want to read in April. Now, there's a lot of these. I'm not going to get to all of them. Just letting you know. First book, I'm actually reading it right now. Iron Flame, the second Fourth Wing book. I read Fourth Wing, and I didn't love it. And I was like, I'm not going to read Iron Flame. I don't want to. And then, all of a sudden, I'm back in my fantasy era, and I'm like, wait, should I read Iron Flame? But basically, I'm not going to tell you what Iron Flame's about, but if you for some reason don't know what Fourth Wing's about, it's this, like, dragon military school, basically, set in, it's dragon military school, but there's also, like, steamy romance in it. That's as far as I can go with that. The next book, The Prisoner's Throne, I think is what it's called. It's the second book in the Stolen Heir duology, which is a spin-off of the Cruel Prince trilogy. And I read The Stolen Heir over Christmas. The Prisoner's Throne came out not that long ago, and I want to read it. I can't tell you what it's about, though, because it's the second book in the series. And then the first book in The Stolen Heir is based on the Cruel Prince trilogy. Like, you just need to read the Cruel Prince, okay? It's very much, if you read... actually, I'm not going to tell you what it's about because you've definitely heard it. The next book, okay, this one's so random, but Rachel Catherine, I was watching her YouTube videos and she read this entire series and I was like, wait, I kind of want to read that. Stalking Jack the Ripper. Basically, it's this girl who's like a forensic scientist, but she's a forensic scientist back in old-timey London, and she's going to school to basically solve murders, and I guess she solves the murders of Jack the Ripper, I guess. I'm not 100%, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even 100% certain what it's about. But I do know I want to read it, and it kind of gives me, from what I can tell from her talking about it, it gives me the vibe of Deadly Little Secrets. Wait, is that what that's called? I'm pretty sure it's called Deadly Little Secrets, the Jennifer Lynn Barnes series, and then the other Jennifer Lynn Barnes series, The Naturals. Like, that's the vibe it gives me, but like in old-time London, and I'm really wanting to read a Regency era book right now, but I don't know if I want to do romance, and so this is gonna be perfect. Then I want to read Powerless by Laura Roberts. Oh my gosh, now that I'm in my fantasy era, I can finally read it. I've been wanting to read this book since it came out, but I'm like, I'm not in the mood, I'm gonna read it. Mark my words, I'm gonna read it this month. Unless for some reason I am out of my fantasy era by then. The book, Stalking Jack the Ripper and Powerless, are supposed to come to my house today. I don't know. That's the answer. I don't know. Basically, from what I hear, it's like the Hunger Games mixed with ACOTAR, I think is what people say about it. I don't know anything about it, and I want to go in blind, so I'm sorry I can't tell you anything else. I want to read Ruthless Vows, which is the second book in the Divine Rivals duology. It's the last book. But I'm a little nervous, like I'm a little apprehensive to read it because I've heard so much of it is politics and like the romance is hardly in it at all, which is completely different than it was in the first book. And so I'm a little nervous about that. and it makes me not necessarily want to read it, but it's still it's still on my TBR. I just don't know if I'm really gonna read it. Basically, Divine Rivals it's old-timey London, but make it fantasy, and it's really like whimsical. And the first book doesn't really focus on like the magic and fantasy element is kind of like the scenery, and then the story that you're actually reading is about Iris and Roman. I really recommend Divine Rivals. You should 1000% read it, and if you can, listen to the audiobook, because it's so magical and it makes you feel like so happy listening to it. Like I really recommend you read it. Keeping 13, Johnny and Shannon's second book off of Binding 13. This has been on my TBR every month since I read Binding 13, and I'm hoping I can finally get to it this month. I don't know though. I don't know. Then I'm gonna speed through the new releases that I want to read this month. We have Wild Love, which is the new book the new Elsie Silver book, cowboy romance. He's a millionaire. That just came out. I think it came out today, actually. Funny Story by Emily Henry. Need I say more? New Emily Henry book. I'll be all over that. It is two people, their exes are dating, and so these two people become roommates. I'm pretty sure that's the premise. Then King of Sloth, which is the 4th book in the Kings of Sin series, and it's the girl who's a publicist, Sloane, I think is her name, and one of her clients. It's the two of them. And that's everything on my TBR. Hopefully I can get to them. No promises about it. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to stick to this. Like, I don't. Honestly, one thing about me, your guess is as good as mine. Truly. I have no clue if this is going to work or not. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm so glad you made it here, and I hope to see you again soon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!